So, if you've ever started looking into preschools or early education, you've probably been hit with this just wave of acronyms and terms. ECC, Montessori, play based, it can feel like a whole different language. Well, today we're going to clear up one of the biggest points of confusion out there. What is the deal with ECC versus Montessori?
Right? You're touring one school and they're talking all about their ECC certified teachers. Then you go to the next one and they're proudly all about the Montessori method. It really makes you wonder, are these two things competing? Is one of them better than the other? It's a super common question and honestly a source of a lot of stress for parents. But the answer is way simpler than you'd think.
Okay, let's just cut right to the chase. Here's the single most important takeaway from this whole explainer. They are not in competition because they're not even in the same category. One is the entire sprawling field of study. The other is just one very specific approach within that field. Getting this one distinction down is the key to everything else. Probably the best way to picture this is with an umbrella. I want you to think of ECCE as this huge, giant umbrella that covers everything to do with early childhood education. And tucked right underneath that umbrella, you've got all these different specific philosophies. Montessori is under there, so is Waldorf, Reggio Emilia, play-based learning. They are all forms of ECCE. So let's start by taking a closer look at the umbrella itself, right? What exactly is ECE all about?
Okay, so ECC stands for Early Childhood Care and Education. And like the name says, it is a massive field. It's not one single teaching style. It's the entire professional world dedicated to how kids develop, from the day they're born all the way up to about age 8.
And because it's so broad, the goals of any good ECCE program are also really broad. We're talking about holistic development, which, is just a fancy way of saying they're looking at the whole kid. It's not just about learning the ABCs. It's about developing social skills, building emotional strength, and improving physical coordination. The whole point is getting them ready not just for kindergarten, but for life. Okay, so that's the big picture. That's the umbrella. Now, let's reach under that umbrella and pull out one of those specific methods to put under the microscope. Let's talk Montessori.
This quote from the founder, Dr. Mario Montessori, just captures the whole vibe of the philosophy perfectly. It is all about building up a child's independence. The goal is for them to become so engaged in their own learning that the teacher almost fades into the background. The child is the star of the show here, not the teacher. So, how does that happen? Well, the whole method really boils down to 3 core ideas. First, you have child-led discovery, letting their natural curiosity lead the way. Second, this discovery happens inside what's called a prepared environment, which is a classroom that is meticulously, intentionally designed for kids to explore independently. And finally, the teacher's role completely changes. They're not a lecturer standing at the front of the room. They're a guide on the side, observing and gently connecting the child to the right activity at just the right moment.
All right, so we've got the broad field of ECC, and we've got the very specific method of Montessori. Now, let's do a little head-to-head comparison to make these differences really, really clear.
On one side, we have the huge ECC umbrella, and on the other, the very focused Montessori approach. And when you lay it out like this, the differences just pop. Take curriculum. Under the big ECCE umbrella, the curriculum could be anything from totally play-based to super academic. But in Montessori, it's a very specific, structured curriculum with its own unique materials. The teacher's role? In a general ECCE setting, they might be a direct instructor. In Montessori, they are strictly a guide. And look at the classroom setup. This is a big one. Most preschools group kids by age, right? The 3-year-olds are in one room, the 4-year-olds in another. Montessori famously mixes them up. The idea is that the older kids learn by mentoring, and the younger kids get inspired by watching the older ones. It's a totally different dynamic. Okay, this is all great info, but why does it actually matter? How does knowing the difference between a field and a method help you in the real world?
Because when you're actually out there trying to find the right place for your child, knowing this stuff empowers you. It helps you ask much smarter questions and see right through all the marketing buzzwords. So here are the kinds of questions you can start asking. For instance, is the school officially Montessori accredited, or are they just Montessori inspired? There's a huge difference. Does the teacher have an ECCE certificate and also specialized training in the Montessori method? When you look around the classroom, does it actually look Montessori? Do you see those special materials? Do you see kids of different ages working together? These are the questions that tell you if a school is truly committed to a philosophy or if they're just borrowing a few cool ideas.
And that brings us to maybe the most important realization of all.
The whole point of this isn't to decide which one is better or worse. Montessori is not inherently superior to a play-based approach or any other method. They are all just different tools, different strategies for reaching those same big, important goals of early childhood education.
So the question we should leave you with isn't which method is the best. The real question is which method is the best fit for this child's unique personality and way of learning? Because every kid is different. And understanding the whole landscape, the big ECE umbrella, and all the different paths beneath it, that's what gives you the power to find the absolute perfect fit for their journey.